Hello, Professor. Yeah, just wanted to update from previous updates. Yeah, I'm at the point where I was able to take apart the parts of the shooting template that are useful and completely exclude everything else, and work them in with a drag and drop template that we had previously. And as a result, we have something that's usable. Here is our protagonist we have right here, and we have a drag and drop um, script already attached to it, and pretty much everything from the side scroller shooter was not helpful, and it was getting in the way of everything else. But what we wanted to save was the idea of a projectile that could spawn and move to the right and deal damage, and a health system. Yeah, just scraping all that to the bottom, we were able to come away with the following, which I had to write myself, which is that when a pill gets put into the hitbox of a slingshot, and I just drew it until the art department can clean it up, that would instantiate the prefab of the projectile, which would have a null transform in position, etc. So it would be launching directly from the slingshot that's being dragged upon. Meanwhile, it would set active a frame of the slingshot firing, and then for as a void update, um, once every 1 second, as defined over here with time elapse, it will check if this is true, and if so, then it would switch it back to its default position. As a result, what we get is we get the ability to drag medication onto the slingshot and have it launch, which is exactly what we were looking for. And so, yeah, so ultimately, my goal with this course and with this lab has been successful, which is that to be able to dedicate the time to focus within Unity to apply the various things we learned throughout these courses to construct something new. And so this is a custom-made script. I'm kind of I'm proud of it, to be honest. And so things that we took already were projectile, which is transform speed, and then the health script, which we really just cut out almost all of it to focus mainly on players, enemies, and just the health system. Everything else just kind of got turned to green. Yeah, so here, let me show this off in action. So we have our player right there. We have the medication right there, and then we have the drag and drop um, mouse in the form of his hand for the cursor available right there. Oh, computer felt like crashing. I, 1 second. Nope, there we go. We just thought about it for a second. All right, that was weird. Yeah, I guess the recording software. Yeah, so we have the drag and drop available. Obviously, I'll have to clean it up and whatnot. But we have the drag and drop available from our previous efforts. We have the cursor, and then if we drag this over to the slingshot, hey, it's perfect. And so I'll have to make it so it deletes the pill as well. But yeah, so when it enters right there, it shows the it firing, and then it launches the projectile. And we have an example of an enemy right here. So if we drag that right here, and then let's shrink its size, and then let's make sure that, because we're using orthographic camera, let's make sure they can see it. And so what you should see is you should see the projectile actually hit it. Great. Yep, and I just included this graphic because it's the first one I could see, which is just to test that the explosion trigger was working. And so, yeah, that works great. And so, yeah, so obviously a lot that still needs to be done. We need to build a script that will identify which pill is being put on it, and then launch the appropriate pill instead of just a generic projectile. And then those projectiles will have the flags of the pill that's being dragged upon it. with the graphic of the bullets being dragged upon it, but with the programming of the projectile. I don't think it'll be too hard because we already have something built in that selects between them, and so it would just be a series of copy paste that. So important, but not too hard. The thing that I think I could use some help on with the last week of class would be this guy's animations. So Talal in our group purchased this off the Unity web store, and what we realized is that he came with animations. We don't really know how to activate animations within a script. No one's really talked to us about that. And yeah, we'd love some insight. So here, let me show you. So yeah, now that we know what animations are, which is as far as we've gotten in the other course, we can see. Oh, look at all these other animations that we purchased. We'd love to be able to activate them with a C# script. We just haven't learned how to do that yet. And we can Google around, but I'd prefer to, get it from the horse's mouth and from an expert. So yeah, that's about where we are. I'd love to be able to utilize some of these, especially with what I'm doing right now. Because what I'd love to do is idle pose, change bone number 2 to not have these keyframes. Um, if I were able to do this, just make it this easy, and then his arm would be sticking out, and then it looked like he's holding the image of the slingshot. Obviously, not the final slingshot. That's great, but when I exit, this doesn't get saved. So obviously, I'm doing something wrong. No one taught me how to do that. That was just me, like, kind of experimenting around. So yeah, some insight on that would be great with my last week. But yeah, it's looking good. And then in terms of the other goal, which was a gameplay understanding of how to work in indicator and contra indicator. What we decided on the following was taking some influence from another medical based game, which is Dr. Mario. And so, within Dr. Mario, the gameplay is happening in the middle, but off to the side are these little germ indicators, and that's just because within gameplay, it's better to see the reaction of people's faces in response to what's going on within actual gameplay. Um, what we've attached from this is that, oh, well, these aren't specific. These are just generic, caricatures of illness. And so maybe we could just take the same inspiration, or create some generic caricatures of illness, and then what we would do is we would color code them between different extremes. And so what we do is we put them between red and blue. Red being the indicator and blue being the contraindicator. So let's say that it's a matter of blood pressure, and the virus or the indicator for blood pressure shows up, and he's just a generic germy looking guy. And then above him it says blood pressure. If he's red, that means that it's high blood pressure, and it will say high above it because we want to make sure that even someone that hasn't played the game can just jump in. And so it says high blood pressure and it's red. They know to prescribe the medications that would address high blood pressure. Vice versa, if it's low blood pressure, then it would be blue and it will say low above it. And we're color shifted. And we have a color transform script as well, just to make it even easier. And then when it sees low blood pressure, the player knows to quickly to prescribe once to address the contraindicator of high blood pressure. And so that's what all I was thinking. Originally, I was thinking a balance game, but I want the gameplay to fit in with the needs of what this level needs to be. And once again, as I explained in previous parts, what this level needs to be is a combination of a fusion of two different gameplay styles to prepare them for what's coming in the next level. In the next level, there's going to be drag and drop elements. There's going to be side scroller shooting across an x-axis with a y-axis controlled. And so we took the arrow key controls from previous game, limited them to moving up and down instead of left and right, introducing a shooting mechanic, which is new, but that shooting mechanic only occurs on the x-axis, and then included the drag and drop that they're already familiar with in the way that they're already familiar with it. And the combination of all of that would be dragging things onto a slingshot to be launched. That's what that looks like. And so this keeps the gameplay that they're familiar with, introduces new gameplay elements, so that next level, when they're drag and dropping different equipment up here while moving up and down and shooting things, they have a familiarity with this side scroll shooter and with drag and drop elements occurring at the same time, that they're not overwhelmed when they experience both of those. And so yeah, I'd say that my goals for this lab have been successful, and I just need to polish some things up for next week, but it's looking good.